Synagogue 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Board of Health will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the Office of the Attorney General web page at, included here. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. Draft minutes will be posted on the town's website as soon as possible after the meeting, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 20. In an emergency, a public body shall post notice as soon as reasonably possible prior to the meeting. Notice shall be printed in a legible, easily understandable format and shall contain the date, time, and place of the meeting and a listing of topics that the chair reasonably anticipates will be discussed at the meeting. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order, and our first business is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Has everyone looked at them?
Yes.
Yes.
Have any corrections?
No.
No.
Jessica, did you see what I suggested?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did you put those in,
I did not do it yet, but I will do it before I post them.
Okay, so what I asked Jessica to do is for the record note that both Sue and Jean were asked if they wanted to be chairperson and declined. Okay, so
Okay.
we are, okay.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, second, all in favor? Sue?
Jean, I.
Jerry, aye.
Sue, yes.
Okay, we'll move on. The chair reserves 10 minutes for public comment. Anybody from the public, Mr. Moglen, have any comments, suggestions, questions you want to bring to us?
I do not.
Okay, so I want to continue the comment that was made about the activities that are going on in public, the organized activities, especially the team sports. Was that addressed to anyone formally, Doug?
No, I had an informal conversation, as I mentioned, with some of the park and rec guys about maybe changing the height on the mower.
Yeah. Well, what I understand is these are organized by Westfield and Southwick have been scrimmaging against each other at Wally Park. Is there anything that the Board of Health needs to do about that or should do about it? Because these are captain's practices and they're organized and the coaches know about it or should know about it.
They seem to be about almost 95% compliant, but after Monday, it'll be something that's allowed.
Okay, so we guess we can drop that. Okay, I'm done. Doug, anything else?
The playground at Wally Park is now open, correct?
Yes, I drove by it, but I didn't see anyone on it, but it is open.
That was the only thing that someone had asked me, and I thought it was open, but I wasn't sure, and I haven't been by, so I'll have to go by.
And
Other than
I'm
that,
just directing people to call Kara if they have more questions about it. Kara Cartello from Parks and Rec.
Yep.
Kate, do you have any questions? Public comment? Since you're public person? Okay, that's a no, I guess. Okay. So we'll end public comment, reserve it. If anyone else comes on, we'll allow them to make a comment. Health Director, Ms. Spencer, you're up.
All right. It's been a pretty busy 2 weeks. I'll just tell you. Let's see. So we'll start off non-COVID related. Let's see. I witnessed perk tests at 299 North Loomis, 12 Deer Run, and 5 Rising Corner. I did some final inspections at 12 Point Grove and 11 Jared Lane, and I approved plans for 12 Point Grove. And I approved some plans today, but I'll put them in the next set's minutes. I did inspections to allow for beaver trapping permits at Arnold Farm and Case Farm. I did rec camp inspections at the Wilderness Experience and at Nutmeg School of Dance. And I had a couple different complaints that I worked on this week. One at trash at 26 Point Grove And at 61 and 63 Hastings, there was overgrowth and abandoned properties. And that's most of the stuff that was non-COVID related.
Tammy, what are you doing about those two abandoned properties on Hillside?
They have two different owners on record, so I already sent letters out to the two different sets of people. Well, one's a mortgage company, so I'm working on that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't received. Well, no, I did receive the certified mail for the mortgage company already, but I
So
didn't.
what are
receive-
you asking them to do to those properties?
to abate the public health nuisance of unmanaged vegetation.
Okay, so in other words, they have to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at this point, it's not going to be mowing. I mean, that's like going to be hack job basically.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll get a good response. I mean, I don't know how well the two properties are linked, but I guess we'll see. They've been getting to know me down in assessors a lot lately.
Tammy, did you check the files to see what the past history was on those two properties?
I did, but some of the ownership had changed. One did not, and then the other one did. And then I guess part of one property is in tax title. So it's I'm hoping to get some some resolution, but I think I talked to Jean about this.
Yeah.
I don't know if at some point we need to start talking about on properties like this, if we need to put some sort of I guess account together to maybe do cleaning liens on properties where the town cleans them and puts liens on them basically.
Well, if one of them's already in tax abatement, that's not. How about contacting the Attorney General about a receivership on them?
Well, I was going to see where I got first. And then I believe that Maya Kazmierek already had last year helped Tom out on those properties. So, but I don't think there was any, it didn't look like from the file that there was any remedy was put through for that. So I don't exactly know what happened last year.
Yeah, you
But I
may
figured-
want to revisit that, though.
Yeah,
It's
I
an
figure,
option.
I'm going to start with this way. If I can't get any, then
Okay.
she's already been aware of this property, both these properties in the past. So hopefully, and I've met with Maya and, she seems like she knows how to get stuff done.
Good. Thank you.
So I've been just kind of plucking along. So now we're talking, let's move into COVID-19 related things. Still a lot of calls wondering can my business do this in this phase? Can my business do that in that phase? Trying to find the answers for that. A few complaints, but nothing really big, and honestly, nothing too justified. When I've showed up at places, people did have masks on when people told me they didn't, and just it's a little trickle of that comes in, but not too much, the complaints. And just kind of working with the public on kind of figuring how safely they can operate. And the big news today is that the governor decided not to give me a weekend off, and Monday is going to be the beginning of phase 3. We're waiting for more of the last I checked, I got a few links to new information, but they hadn't finished everything by the end of day today. So
Phase 3.
So phase 3, briefly, casinos get to open, fitness centers, museums. There's a lot of health-related things that get changed in phase 3, like therapeutic group sessions and like adult day health gets to start. There's new rules for congregate care that are like kind of dialing back on the restrictions for visitors and things like that. And while the governor mentioned that there is going to be steps to phase 3. There was no mention as to what they are going to look like and who's in what. Those are just the things I mentioned are the things that are going to start at the beginning of phase 3. And then he gave a little bit more clarification on phase 4, the new normal. And I guess it's not going to be, the 3 weeks per phase or so, or utilizing progression of numbers. It's going to be whether or not there's a vaccine or a therapeutic process or a therapeutic method to counteract COVID. So phase 4 might be a lot longer from now than we had been speculating, which, talking to people who are doing like larger outdoor events like road races or shows or festivals, it's not looking like that's going to be anything that's happening this summer. And
How about organized team sports?
organized team sports, I know documents went out about like professional sports.
How about talk about local sports?
Locally,
Soccer,
um,
hockey.
I didn't get to look at all of the didn't get to look at all of it. I didn't look at hardly any of it. I'll just be honest.
Okay.
It just came out this afternoon. But they're loosening up restrictions for adult sports, whereas before, they were things that could be done non-contact were allowed in phase 2, and they're supposed to be loosening up for contact sports in phase 3. But I haven't seen that information
Okay.
yet. I know that professional sports, the governor's got a separate section on that.
Well, that's not.
Yeah.
fair.
But I mean, I don't think phase 3 is going to be. I think the outdoor recreation portion might get a lot of phone calls about, but I think that the rest of the stuff, like the fitness centers and things like that, those are things that are going to have much clearer guidelines about cleaning and usage and how many people can be in. So I think those will be the easier things to help people out with. But that's phase 3 in a nutshell. What's going on right now? I can't believe it had to be Thursday before the holiday weekend.
So what's for you to
Tammy?
do? I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question? Tammy, can public pools be open at the campgrounds then?
They've been
Phase
able to
3?
be open, semi-public pools,
Mhm.
not community pools. Like
The
but
Y?
we don't have community pools in town. So
Okay, that would be like, what's a community pool? Like the Y, is that considered a community pool?
yeah, or like a lot of cities have
Okay,
outdoor community pools. Semi-public outdoor pools have been open since phase 2.
okay.
I believe indoor pools, semi-public indoor pools might be allowed in phase 3, but they didn't mention anything today to us, but it could be the second part of phase 3. And we have American Inn is one of those.
And
But
I have
our
another-
other pools are open in town.
I have another question. What's the status of our town beach?
They won't be opening this year.
Okay.
The Park and Recs decided
Tammy,
it's
what about,
too much to.
I'm sorry, what about like the pools? Isn't there a pool at the condos?
Those
At
are
the
the semi-public
they're
outdoor pools are allowed.
Okay, okay,
I did all those inspections 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
okay.
and both campgrounds pools. And then I did last week. Well, actually, I should have included that in my report. I did Wilderness Experiences pool along with their camp.
Okay.
But their pool is a little different because they're allowed to have their pool open because they are a rec camp, so they're allowed to have an indoor pool open. The nuances of who can and who can't are very interesting.
Okay.
And while that doesn't seem like a lot, that's mostly what I have. Oh, I know. Some other things. So today was our monthly Hamden County Health Agents Health Coalition meeting, which I don't know if I mentioned last week. They, without even asking me if I wanted to go again for another 3-year term, they voted me for co-chair again.
What happens when you don't go to meetings?
No, I have to.
Rookie.
I had no say in it the first time that everybody voted for me, and then I this time it was the same. They all voted before I even was able to raise my hand.
Could have got
Um,
second place and they made you chair. You got to be careful with those.
Hey, it's good for the town. I've got those assets now at my disposal. So some of the things that have been on our minds for the local health departments. So, they're talking about, hopefully having a vaccine or having some kind of therapeutic measure for it. But another thing is that flu season will be upon us yet again.
So,
Exactly. So in a way, even though it won't be, it would be a dry run for if we do have to do vaccinations. So that's one of the things we were talking about, different ways, that we might go about the whole mass prophylaxis for the flu, where, there are some models of drive-through EDS, emergency dispensing sites. Those are some of the things that we've been, that people have been talking about, because the nature of, a flu clinic is a whole bunch of people wait in line to get vaccinated. So how can we do that in the age of COVID and do it safely? So those are things that are kind of on our radar. Another thing is they did, other towns have kind of talked about where they've got the music guidance. I know we've kind of talked about that, whereas the state, is going back and forth between whether or not music should be allowed at as part of sort of the ambiance at restaurants and bars. So West Springfield is going to be sending me some guidance that we could utilize for our establishments that want to provide music. But I probably won't get that till Monday since it's the holiday weekend. And a couple other towns have actually made up interesting COVID-related inspection reports for businesses. So hopefully that's so great that we have this community of health agents who are willing to share what they've got, which I'm very thankful for in Hampden County. And
is the town closed tomorrow?
yes.
Yeah, okay. We'll
Yep.
learn.
And so town hall, we're still open, the north side entrance to the clerk, collector, treasurer, and assessor's office. If you go in there, there is a phone and you can spray it down to use to call any departments above if you need to, say, drop off paperwork or anything, if it's something that might not fit in the green box, which for building and health are two departments where most things people drop off don't fit in the green box because they're plans and things like that. So that's been working. I heard that I talked to Michelle Hill. She seems like very thrilled at how it's been working. We set up, we put these great, if anyone goes in there, we ordered these great signs for like 6 feet apart for people there are stickers that go on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So people can sit at the stickers. We're only allowing, there's a sign, so only 4 people are allowed in the lobby at one time. And then outside there's another spot where you can wait where it's been marked off. And I've been told that so far, no problems. People are really respectful. They wear their masks, and things have been going well. We haven't had much talk about when we're going to open up the rest of the building, but we have things like the senior center to consider and those departments. So I don't know when that'll come up, but I will keep everybody posted. And I know I'm going to say, oh, and that's all I have, but I might have something else to pop back up in a minute.
Okay, do we have any news on how many cases we've had in the last 2 weeks? Or is that-
We're still at 59.
So we have not had any in the last 2 weeks, is that correct?
Mm-mm. Nope. And one is active.
And one is active means what? The other
That they're still
58
in isolation. Yeah.
So the other 58, 2 have passed away, is that correct?
Yes.
And the other 56 are done and gone and out,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Yes,
Seems
In a
pretty-
good way. They've recovered.
Yes. yes. Is-
yes.
Does that mean?
Yes,
that
they
we're
have
either lucky or
recovered.
good? Is that maybe both? A little bit of
Say
both?
again?
I said that we're either lucky or good or a little bit of both. Is that correct?
Well, I know the testing has gone up significantly, so I'm going to err on the side of it's good, and people should still get tested, and it is what it is. I guess my concern is, in terms of a vaccine. I know we did a tabletop 2 years ago at the high school, talked about doing a drive-through.
It is what it is.
And, are they going to mix it with the regular flu? Will be a separate shot, et cetera? So there definitely are logistics of, who's going to get it, how they'll get it, resources,
You mean the
school
flu or
health.
the flu vaccine? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so will it be mixed with the other, like with the quad? So there's a 4 strain right now. So will they mix it into that strain, or will they keep it separate if indeed it is ready for the fall? So we have to think about supplies and who's going to get it, who won't get it, because it will be rationed, I'm sure, at the beginning until
you think
everyone, it
everybody-
was like H1N1.
You think everybody's going to be clamoring to get the flu shot this year?
I think a lot more than we think.
Okay.
I do. So, and the people I've talked to. But you never know. You never know. I'm
And
gonna
I
get
just, yeah. Oh,
it.
the main focus of the Hamden County Health Coalition, what our funds are for and what we do is emergency preparedness. And basically the main thing that we want to prepare for in public health is mass prophylaxis and emergency dispensing sites. And just rest assured that I'm probably the most annoying voice on that panel when it comes to talking to the people who help our public health emergency, like our public health emergency planner, our state planners. And every time I don't get a good response from them about, so during COVID, is this what you're working on? And they give me, well, not yet. It's okay. Like at the next meeting, I want to know, what's going to be the next step. So like I said, so this meeting, they said they haven't been working on drive-throughs. I want to know about drive-throughs for next month. Like that's plain and simple. I want, who's got the best policies out there so we don't have to reinvent the wheel all for ourselves, which is what the state usually makes us do. Like we don't have time to reinvent the wheel. Like I want a good plan so we can stick it in our normal plan and get going when and if it happens.
I'm just wondering if when we did that tabletop, if there was anything developed from this, because there was a lot of obviously school people at the table.
Oh, from 2
And-
years ago?
Yeah, it was the December of 18, I believe. So I can ask Marcia if there is an EDS plan.
I have an EDS plan.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It was not very good. And
Okay.
I started to scrap it at the beginning of, in like February and work from scratch.
Okay.
It wasn't the most recent template from the Office of Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Okay.
And a lot of stuff had changed. The meat and bones of the players are there,
Mhm.
but it's going to have to go a little bit beyond just that. We're going to have to talk about alternative means, not the traditional, I think, the
Mhm.
traditional, gymnasium at a school kind of thing. I think it's going to go beyond that. And even, just when we talk about who's going to get it,
Mhm.
is this thing where we need to do force protection? Are they, are they a priority? If so, what will our clinics look like for them? Maybe it is the sort of thing that we'll be working with maybe the senior center on. There's just so many things open now that I would guess I've been surprised that while all these people, these great thinkers from the state are home on their computers all day, they haven't been coming up with some of these ideas. I don't know. I guess that was a little disappointing to hear from the state that they haven't been helping us by maybe putting together some packages for template plans for us.
Surprised.
Uh,
Okay,
I'm always over optimistic, a little Pollyanna, but
okay.
yeah,
Don't be.
you can't change me. I'm gonna
That's
think that
okay.
people are
No.
doing their best regardless. Sorry,
I don't
Jerry.
think that surprises me.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You know,
Hurry
Well,
up and wait, and then,
When
yeah.
when I get answers from the state, online answers from the state, 3 or 4 days after I make a request, and the answer is we're all working at home from our laptops, I'm going,
so,
so
Yeah.
why didn't you get back to me 3 days ago?
Right.
You're
Right.
all at home. You don't have your coworkers walking in on you. Like,
Mhm.
why?
and does this mean that the traditional spots like Rite Aid, the drugstores won't be getting flu shots? Is that it? They're gonna be, like you said,
It
rationed
all depends, I think,
on?
I mean, I would think
on
that they will
what
be
Kate
a
said.
supplier. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to depend on the number. I think they're going to, look at the high risk populations of who needs it and prioritize that way.
So in other words, the people in their 20s and 30s will, as they normally do, will skip it. That's probably the assumption. Is that correct? You're saying
I'm
this
not
what's going
sure.
on
I mean,
now?
if you look at deaths and hospitalizations, that's what they're going to look at.
Okay,
They're going to look at the highest risk people that are the most vulnerable with chronic diseases. And they're going to, it was the same with H1N1. They gave us 500 doses to start with, and they said, these are the people you can give it to. And that's how we ran our clinics.
okay. And it went well.
So it may change a lot from that. We have to be prepared for anything and everything.
Okay.
I think another factor in the the vaccination at the pharmacies is whether or not it's financially viable for them. Like if it's something that they are going to make money off of, they're going to keep doing it.
Mhm.
They
but-
make money off of everything.
That's what I'm
Oh, they
saying.
will.
Like that's why it's a money making venture for them.
Mhm. That's
So,
why they're doing swaps.
Well, it depends if they get the vaccine, though. That's the,
Yeah.
the government,
Yeah.
if they ship it to them. So
Right.
that's
It all
Who gets it?
depends. Like Kate said, is it going to if if it's going to be we're going to have separate flu, separate COVID,
Mhm.
then I can't imagine why
Well,
the
you can't-
pharmacies wouldn't be doing it.
I mean,
At
I
least for
can't
the
imagine
flu.
that the flu shots is going to start in August, September. Is that right?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I
That was
can't-
one of the questions. Is Angela Kramer from Ludlow was bringing up at the last MPHN. Was the public health nurses meeting. They were talking about when they might speculate it, but I guess there's nothing
Yeah,
yet.
well-
I mean, you think about it, if all the other industries are behind, why
Mhm.
wouldn't they be behind in a way, I guess?
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing
I hope
is
not.
that, unless, well, whatever happens, the Red Sea parts, you're not going to get a COVID vaccine. I mean, if you get it before January 1st, it's going to be some kind of miracle. And then
Mhm.
who's
Yeah, I
going to,
agree.
it's going to get, I think it's going to be a political football,
Mhm.
number 1, 2, 3. But I think the flu vaccine will, when it started in August and September, that's when your problem's going to be, because people will either say, hey, I can't get the flu this year. I don't think they're going to worry about whether they're going to mess up hospital capacity. It's going to be an individual decision on if I'm going to get the flu and is it going to kill me,
Mhm.
like it is now.
Like it is now, every other
Like it
year,
is
right?
now. And
Hey, if everybody's putting their resources into a vaccine, are they even working on a flu shot?
okay,
I would hope they would be. It's a money maker for
Yeah.
some company, right?
I would think so. I would think they're still trying to,
I think the regular players are developing their flu shots for this season.
yeah.
We had I mean, in general, the state had a horrible flu season prior. I don't mean horrible, but we had a pretty bad and active flu season
Mhm.
before the COVID hit.
We did.
So my son's school, I think if they said, of the accounted, at one point, there was over 50% had the flu in his school.
Yeah.
The other ones, who knows? My kid had the flu shot, but he was sick in February for about a week and a half. So
the
we had
monster-
it's still here.
So the
Yeah,
monster
and
is going to be that the kid gets the flu, or you get the kid comes into school with a cough and a temperature. I mean, do you send them home for 14 days? You test them. I mean, for COVID. I mean, the symptoms are, I guess, are remarkably the same. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
If
gonna
they
be a
have a-
mess.
If they have a fever, yeah,
Pardon?
they shouldn't even, if they have a fever and a cough, they shouldn't even be coming into school.
Well, you tell me how many of us have gone in with a cough and a temperature to work
Not
at
me,
one time or another. A
not
lot
me.
of us.
But
Yeah.
but you know, a lot of people weigh those options. It's, you know, childcare versus, oh, my
Yep.
kid goes in school sick. People weigh
Mhm.
that every day.
Absolutely, I agree.
Normally, yep.
I'm
That's right.
hoping that at least for, you know, a brief period once schools commence, I'm just hoping that we'll see, you know, a little bit more responsibility when it comes to, you know, the spread of disease in the schools.
Yep.
That you know, people, my kid
For
feels
sure.
warm, maybe he should stay home. I really hope that we get that in us, but
Are they going to take temperatures at school? Are they planning to take temperatures at school?
Sure, yeah. They bought thermometers.
from the
I took
report
them.
that came out last week, it said something about how they weren't recommending it, but
I think
I
they
don't-
ordered. I think they ordered. Marcia ordered them just to be safe, because think about this: if they do recommend, and you're not going to be able to get one, and then you're really kind
Yeah.
of screwed. Sorry, but that's the issue. It's like planning ahead, and if you don't need it, you know, based on
They don't go bad.
what they decide, then they can just hold on to them and keep them when they need them. But that was the issue running into all the PPE and the thermometers and people not having, so they couldn't take their temps at home.
yeah.
So I'm glad they did that in advance, because the unknown in terms of what they're going to do.
You know, now that you bring that up, I should maybe I can see whether or not the surgical supply company has thermometers in, because they didn't have, no one locally had them in, but it's
Yep.
looking like people are getting restocked because they're now
Yes.
getting masks and other PPE. That's
Right.
yeah, I'll put that on my
I-
list.
In my desperation, I don't know where I got them from, but I have 20 in my home. If you need
Thermometer?
Yeah, thermometers. Well, you know
Yes.
what I had seen? It was one company, but like their dates were way out. They had you know, like a promotional supply company, like they,
Yeah.
you know, keychains. They had little thermometers that you could get your, you know, your business name put on.
Oh, wow.
I should make
That's kind
it
of
could-
cool.
Yeah, Town of Southwick with little nice, like they're not rectal thermometers. We're not
Oh,
going to be
God,
so
Is this
Don't-
being recorded here?
Kate,
It is.
Kate, does the-
total medical thing.
or does
You're a
Kate-
doctor.
does the
Wow.
school have the ones where it's just the forehead and all you have to do
Yes.
is replace the
Yes, the
adapter?
forehead. Yeah, and the ones they're no touch. They have no touch ones too. So there's not, you know, there's very little, well, hopefully little risk of getting the thermometer infected. But they are no touch. You know, you just do a swipe over the.
Because the one at the hospital, they do the swipe over the forehead and side. They do touch your skin, and they have
Yeah,
a disposable adapter.
my understanding, and I could be wrong, that they bought the ones that are no touch.
Okay.
But I
Like
would
the
have-
infrared.
Yeah, yep, infrared.
But going through the DESE's report, one of the things they said was because, you know, the pediatric patients fluctuate so much with temperature, and there's so many reasons for fever, no fever in a kid, that it wasn't something that they highly recommended
Yeah.
in the schools. I mean, I don't know if I really believe that, but maybe it's just a way of getting out of having to buy stuff. But I mean,
Right.
if anybody who took a look at that at the document that came from the state last week, I really couldn't make any real comments on it because once you got to the meat and potatoes, which it is more like a Nutrisystem meal, it was mostly, they referred to the document as a memo, guidance, a requirement. What was the
Yeah.
other one? In one page, they referred to themselves at like 5 different things. And I'm like, well, this is, going in from here, it means nothing to me since they kept calling it on one line. It was the following requirements and guidance. Those are 2 separate things, as we've all been learning with stuff that comes down from the state. The 14-day travel rule is guidance, not a requirement. Like wearing masks when you're in a retail establishment is a requirement. So I think that the people who put together that information need to come back at everybody with something that looks a little bit more firm. I can't comment on it yet. And there's, 3 plans for school, in school, out of school.
There's got to be a protocol to exclude.
But yeah.
Like with chickenpox or pertussis. I mean, so I'm hoping that will be available because school nurses will be on those front lines. And they're going to need to know how to triage those kids.
And like looking at some of the recommendations, it was like that at no point should a kid who has any symptoms of COVID be left alone. So, I mean, if you have one nurse at your school and you've got 4 kids who are coughing, does that mean that someone's got to sit in the same room? Well, if they all have to be in separate rooms, so that's like 4 rooms. And from what everybody's saying, every extra space in schools are probably going to be taken up by doing things to separate people a little bit more. So is that going to be something that's possible? And are we going to be able to plan for the salaries of extra people to sit there and watch kids coughing away? It's interesting, and at least it's the school department. They'll have to figure that one out. But
and then are you going to mask them? Right? Are you going to mask them while they're waiting?
I think everybody's going to be wearing masks come August 20 something.
They need to be really clear. The parents will not. They need to have a clear understanding of this is what will happen based on A, B, C, D, E, F, G symptom, and this is how the state wants us to proceed. And again, we have communicable diseases that we know of, and influenza type A or B is still out there, and we don't really do much about it. I mean, they go home. There's not even a guideline to keep them. I mean, they have to be fever free, but it's not like they have to be out 14 days like they are currently. So it's going to change. I just think we should be prepared to, understand what the state wants and realizing it could change
Bailey.
very quickly.
Very quickly. It's going to happen. It's impossible not to open up the schools in August. It's not feasibly possible. So it's going to open, and we'll see who gets sick and be prepared to shut down like the rest of the country shut down after they've opened up and put people close together.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen.
I agree.
Because you can't. What are they going to run around with 3rd graders who are supposed to be masked? They're holding their masks around the side of their head or their on their back or. But I think we have to try. But I think the inevitable result is that it's going to be just like what's happened in bars and restaurants and beaches. And unfortunately, I think until a vaccine goes on, we're going to. I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're going to be at some point. These kids are going to be out of school. That's my guess.
Yep. Science
is science. So.
That's right.
Anyways, that's my guess. I hope it doesn't happen, but to try and keep, if the flu's going to spread, and maybe they'll keep their masks on. I don't know. Maybe the teachers will come in who have diabetes and high blood pressure and are high risks, and they say, well, we got to teach my kids, but I don't know if they're going to come in, or should they come in?
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's the answer. You know, it is
That
what
could
it
be
is.
yeah, that could be a high price. Yep.
Sign says. Okay, I'm done with my.
Your soapbox.
All right. Tammy,
I think that's enough for me.
okay. Kate, anything else? Oh, how many-
No,
So we had no cases, no deaths. That's good.
no,
The state
No,
actually had a 0 count this week, right? It was Tuesday.
correct.
Think so.
0. Yep.
So I think it shows what you can do if you listen to people.
Well, yes, and and people, I like the fact that some, people call back if they're not sure. You know what I mean? Like, call me, and if you have questions about what to do, call me. And I think that's very, very important so that they get the right information of what do you do with this situation or these kids and blah, 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 blah. So,
Sue, you have anything? Oh, we're not, now we're supposed to inform Miss Spencer of her trying to find a new job. Is that it?
Let me get
Okay.
close to the camera so I can do puppy eyes or something.
No,
you're
no.
so funny.
So you're by the contract, you're out of your probationary period.
Yep.
That ended on July 1st. So
Out of the probationary period and into,
unless you steal something or do something for cause, I mean, you're good to go. Sue, you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Jean?
Yes.
So congratulations. My well-deserved. My problem with how this process went is I still feel that we should have had a formal evaluation sent to each of us and filled out.
Mm.
And I think our board decides that, not somebody else's. And I thought that for Tammy's sake, that should have been done for her file and for us. And it wasn't.
Jerry, you could have created the form. There
We
is
have a
none
form.
that
I asked-
existed, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to create your own.
Okay, so we didn't. And I assume it's moot now. Is that correct? Sue, you think so?
You could still create one and
Okay, so
we
I'll
could
sit
go
down.
over it and sign it, and then Tammy could sign it.
Okay, so I'll work with Jessica on that. If that's okay with you, Jean?
That's fine. That's, we're independent
I
from
know.
other boards, but it doesn't mean that I was just looking for
Yeah, but
some type of form. That's
Don't we-
all, so we
didn't
could
we-
copy it. That's it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Didn't we have one for Tom that we filled out? Sue, is my recollection correct?
I didn't do Jerry.
Didn't we have one for Tom that we used every 4 or 5 years, to evaluate him? Is that right?
I think we did have some kind of form.
Okay, so I'll talk to Tom and see where it was and if he has a copy, or Jessica, maybe you can dig through our files and see if we have a copy of that.
Or maybe
Okay.
Melissa has it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Melissa may have it. So we'll get it and we'll send it out and we'll finish it. But speaking for myself, I think Tammy thrown into the fire has done a most remarkable job.
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
I agree.
Yeah, and though we can put it in writing, I don't think that anybody on this board has any question about the fact that Tammy is doing her job above and beyond.
So,
Mhm.
I agree.
yeah,
Mhm.
we were very lucky. Either lucky or good making the choice. But
Yep.
thank you,
Both.
Tammy.
A blessing.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry, you can always go online and see what there is for online for
Okay, I'll do that. Okay.
And it could start with the reasons why we think Tammy's great. The reason why we think Tammy did a great job.
Yeah, the reasons why we think Tammy's the best.
Yeah.
Can we just put a huge gold star on a piece of paper and
Oh
put
my
her name
gosh!
underneath
And then
it?
you all sign it.
Yeah,
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah. Gold
Beautiful.
stars go a long way for me. I'll
And
tell
we're
you.
gonna send Doug a request for a raise. That's the.
I love it. I love it.
Well,
My
speaking
son
of-
I got a
received
bad
his-
connection. I can hardly hear.
Yeah, speaking
Sorry.
of money, what's the tax revenue look like in town, by the way?
Don't know yet because we've had all those delays that everybody would had extra time to submit. So I don't know the answer to that yet. I'll probably know better next week.
Okay,
Generally speaking, we're planning for the worst.
yeah, well,
Mm.
I think that's pretty good planning. Jessica, have anything you want to speak to us about?
Nope,
Kate,
I'm good.
anything else, Kate, you want to add?
Oh, no, I'm happy as a clam.
Sue,
I'm all set.
Jean?
I'm fine.
So Joe's left. Doug, anything that you want to chime in on?
No, I think everything's going as well as we could hope, given the circumstance. Thank you, Tammy, for everything, and
Mhm.
congratulations on surviving
Mm-hmm.
probation in a pandemic. I
Mhm.
don't think you
Mhm.
could have a better trial period than, oh, let's see how she does during a pandemic. Oh, okay.
Right. That's the
I'm glad-
ultimate test.
Right.
It
I'm
really
glad you
is.
decided
It
to stay,
feel-
that's all.
It feels like it's been 2 years, yet it feels like it's only been like 2 months. It's the craziest 6 months ever.
So my question to you,
Yeah.
Tammy, do you have any suggestions for us? I mean, came from the big city, now you're in the suburbs, little city. Any suggestions or comments how your first 6 months went? What do you think?
Well, I would like 6 months without being in a pandemic to see how they went, but I have to say the first 6 weeks were fantastic. Before we
Yeah.
started having to talk about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
I'm a little like, in a weird way, like a little misty that I'm missing out on like the fun, like just the summer is like the best time for a health agent. It's just, I don't know, like the winter is kind of slow in a way, and you go do your proactive inspections at restaurants and things, and the summer's like beach inspections and pools and camps, and being like the bearer of bad news to everybody. It's like, I wish I started the first summer off a little bit, a little more with better news, and a different face to show people when I had to tell them all that. But there'll be next year.
Mhm.
There'll be next year, definitely. And I think I've told Jean this. I had a piece of paper taped to the side of my desk, and it was sort of the first, I think, 4 months of working for the town, and I had the list of what I was going to do by week. And I just kind of laughed at it, like when I found it the other day, because we were moving computers around, and I was like, "Nah, that's
You
not."
crossed off one thing on that list, right?
I think I crossed off one thing, and that
Yeah.
was probably it. So hopefully I'll be able to get back to that list
Okay.
shortly. I hope.
Mm,
Well, congratulations and thank you
Mhm.
very much from the bottom of our heart.
absolutely.
And I'm
So,
I'm so glad to be here. Well,
Here.
technically I'm not here right now.
so our next meeting's the 16th. Anybody, Sue, are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay.
Jean,
Yeah, fine.
Kate,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn and thank everybody for their participation.
Doug, could you stay on for a minute? Oh, he turned his mic off. So, second,
I'm in favor. Yes.
Jerry's in favor.